I'm not sure who else this has happened to, but here it goes. Last night, I was driving back from my sister's house. It was late, around midnight, and I was taking the back roads because the highway always feels too impersonal at that hour. I had my usual radio station on, one I've listened to for years, with some easy rock playing softly. I'd barely left town when the music stopped mid-song, replaced by a scratchy static. At first, I thought it was just bad reception. I reached for the dial, but before I touched it, the static faded, and a strange voice crackled in. It was like nothing I'd ever heard before, deep, almost robotic, with a cold tone that sent a chill straight through me. "Hello, Andrew," the voice said, perfectly clear. "How are you tonight?" Now, I'd never touched the dial, and no one knows me by just Andrew. My friends call me Drew, and no one else had been in my car for months. My first thought was some prank, maybe my phone's Bluetooth, but then I realized it was coming directly from the radio, not my phone. I slowed down, feeling every hair on my neck stand up. The voice continued, describing a scene that made my blood turn cold. A tragic accident, late on a deserted road. The driver never saw the deer in time. It started describing a horrible wreck. My exact car, down to the broken taillight I hadn't fixed yet. The CD case lying in the passenger seat, even the slight crack on my windshield. I felt trapped, unable to move. It was describing me. The driver hit the brakes, swerving left, but it was too late. The voice paused, like it was savoring the moment. The car rolled 3 times, landing in a ditch. No one could hear him calling for help. I swear the voice sounded pleased. My hands shook on the steering wheel as I looked ahead, half expecting to see some horrific crash in front of me. But the road was empty, dead quiet, except for that awful voice. "You can't escape fate, Andrew," it said, and then it just stopped. The station switched back, my music fading in, like nothing had happened. I didn't breathe until I was safely back home, car parked in my driveway. But the worst part, this morning, I noticed fresh skid marks on my tires, as if I'd slammed the brakes. I know I didn't. I was driving down an empty stretch of Highway 50 last night, somewhere in the Nevada desert. If you've never been, it's called the loneliest road in America for a reason. Just miles and miles of asphalt, hardly a car, and nothing but endless dark stretching in every direction. I usually love driving at night, the silence, the stars overhead, the peace. But last night was different. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I spotted her. At first, I thought I was seeing things. She was just standing by the road, her form barely illuminated by my headlights. Her dress was torn and dirty, like she'd been out there for a while. Her hair hung in loose, tangled strands over her shoulders. She looked cold, arms wrapped around herself, one hand half-heartedly waving, as if she'd given up, but still clung to a last bit of hope. I know it sounds stupid, but in the moment, something inside me told me to help her. I slowed down and rolled my window down just a bit as I pulled over. "You need a ride?" I called out, keeping one foot hovering over the gas pedal just in case. She didn't answer, just nodded slowly and started to walk towards the car. As she got closer, I felt the first prickle of unease. There was something off about her. Her eyes were too wide, too dark, like there was nothing behind them. And when she was close enough to touch the car, she stopped and stared directly at me. Her face broke into a smile that was just wrong. "You're not supposed to be here," she whispered. I froze. The way she said it, it was like she knew me, like I'd crossed some line I couldn't see. I blinked just for a second, and when I opened my eyes, she was gone. I sat there in silence, my mind racing. I thought maybe I'd just imagined her, that the long hours on the road had done something to me. But as I looked down at my passenger seat, my heart stopped. There was a faint outline in the seat, dust smudged into the shape of a person sitting there. The scent of old, musty perfume filled the car, something floral and rotting. I could almost feel her beside me, though there was nothing there. I slammed the car into gear and sped off, not daring to look at the seat beside me. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, expecting to see her in the back seat, but the road behind me was empty. I thought I'd left her behind. But when I got to the next town and pulled into a gas station, the attendant looked at me funny. "You all right, man?" he asked. "Yeah, why?" He just nodded toward my passenger side. "That woman with you, she looked like she needed help." I whipped around. No one was there. The seat was empty, but the faint outline was still pressed into the fabric, as if someone had been sitting there all along. I couldn't bring myself to explain it, just muttered something about needing a coffee and drove on. Even now, I keep looking over at the passenger seat, wondering if I'll see her again. Wondering if she's still there, just waiting, her empty eyes watching me, silent until I blink. I don't even know where to start with this, but maybe writing it down will help me make sense of what happened. I was driving back from my friend's place last weekend, and I messed up. I got turned around somewhere on the back roads, and my GPS just stopped working. The signal was out, and I couldn't get it to reload. So, there I was, driving aimlessly through the middle of nowhere in the dead of night. After what felt like an hour of driving in circles, I saw the lights of a small town up ahead. I was relieved, figuring I could stop, ask for directions, and get back on track. As I rolled in, I noticed something off. It wasn't anything I could put my finger on right away, but there was this stillness in the air. The streets were empty, no cars, no people walking around. Not even a stray dog. Just these dim streetlights casting long shadows over cracked pavement. I slowed down, thinking maybe it was late enough that everyone was asleep. Then I started to see them. People standing in their doorways, watching me. Not moving, not saying anything, just staring as I drove past. At first, I thought maybe it was just a few nosy neighbors, but every house I passed was the same. A figure in the doorway, standing perfectly still, their faces mostly hidden in the shadows. It gave me the creeps, but I tried to shake it off. I decided to turn around, but when I looped back to the street I'd come in on, it was gone. I mean, it was physically there, but it was like the road ended in a dead end, where it had been open just moments ago. Confused, I thought maybe I'd taken the wrong turn without realizing it. I circled around again, but the other roads leading out of town weren't there either. Every time I thought I found a way out, there was either a barricade or the road just wasn't there anymore. The whole time, those people were still watching me. I could feel their eyes on me as I drove around, slow and unsure. I was trying to stay calm, telling myself it was just a small town with weird quirks, but the pit in my stomach kept getting worse. I stopped the car in front of what looked like the town's only gas station, thinking maybe I could find someone who'd help me. But when I stepped out of the car, the silence hit me like a wall. No wind, no crickets, nothing, just quiet. I walked up to the door of the gas station, but before I could knock, I heard something behind me. I turned and saw them, all of them, standing outside now. Not just in their doorways, but in the street, in a wide circle around me. I couldn't see their faces clearly, just the way their heads tilted slightly, as if they were waiting for something. I didn't stick around to find out what it was. I jumped back into the car, slammed the door, and floored it, driving aimlessly through the streets again. My heart was pounding, my breath coming in shallow gasps, and every corner I turned, they were there, always watching. No matter where I went, the exits were gone, and the roads just twisted back in on themselves. Eventually, somehow, I ended up back on the road I'd originally come in on, like the town had let me go. I didn't stop driving until I got home, but I can't shake the feeling that maybe I didn't make it out, not really. I keep thinking I see those people in my rearview mirror, standing on the side of the road, watching. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and check out my other content on the screen now.